What if everything you've been taught about networking is actually killing your business? Today's guest has spent 25 plus years interviewing top performers, and he's discovered that the real growth engine isn't cold outreach, funnels, or even content. It's something far more human and way more effective. From working with TED founders to building referral ecosystems that generate consistent business, Mark J. Carter reveals how to turn conversations into clients and what improv might be your best underrated skill. If you're still chasing leads instead of attracting them, this episode will change how you grow fast. Five. Hey, Mark, how are you today?
I am excellent. Thank you for asking, Mark. Thank you for having
Thank you
me.
very much for Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's go straight into it. You say traditional networking is broken. What are most people still getting completely wrong?
It's the old school. You got to have the perfect elevator pitch, and going into networking events and thinking, "What's in it for me?" Or "I need to get a. Why are you going to the event? I need to get a client. Why are you going to the event? I need to get business. Me, 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 me." And people want to talk about themselves more than talk about the other person. And that's, I mean, people say you have two ears and one mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. And the people that go into, well, I'll say first time networking, as far as networking events where you're meeting people for the first time, they go in with the thing, I have to get this many potential clients, this many prospects, gosh, kiss this many babies, shake this many hands, all that good stuff. They're not thinking about the other person. They're not thinking about building relationships. They're thinking about what's in it for me. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with traditional, I will say, networking.
Yeah. When we used to do networking pre-COVID, that was face to face. It was about collecting business cards, wasn't it? It was that was what people thought was networking. And I found that most people never followed up. And I was just like, well, what's the point in turning up if you're not going to make a meaning or try and make a meaningful connection with someone? You're just turning up for a free meal or for drinks at the end of the night, isn't it? It's very much trying to make meaningful relationships when it comes to networking. Do
Mhm.
you agree?
Oh, completely. I think find out what the other person wants. I love asking, what brought instead of the usual, what do you do? I love the lead. Did it. I still will do it at virtual events, but as far as pre-COVID in-person networking, I would instead of what do you do, I would just ask, what brought you out tonight? Who are you looking to meet? Immediately find out why they're there. Find out ways I might be able to help them before they even know what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right, let's go a little bit about your journey. What sparked your obsession with how successful people have made it?
It's dating myself now. 1999, my senior year in college, I read a Tony Robbins book, wanted to be Tony Robbins. It did not turn out that way. And I honestly don't know where the initial idea was. I just know it was in my DNA. I don't think I knew what mentoring was. Definitely nobody told me to do what I'm about to say I did. I just figured if I want to be successful someday, I need to be around and learn from successful people. So I started cold calling people, looking people up. The internet was still relatively new back then. Looking people up online, finding people on the cover of trades journals, finding people on the New York Times best-selling business list, finding CEOs. I found when I wrote my book, Idea Climbing, I found my first notebook from February of 1999 with my first two informational interviews in it. One was a Grammy Award winning jazz musician, the other was the head coach of University of Michigan's basketball team. And I just have and still have this rabid curiosity. How the heck did you do it? What did you do wrong? Where did you fall short? What would you do differently? What did you do to become successful? Because even at that young age, I realized, why reinvent the wheel? Someone has walked probably half, if not three quarters of the journey that I want to walk. Why try and figure stuff out on my own when I can learn from them? And my first, in quote, speaking gigs were for high schools and some colleges. and they would let me take over the class for an hour, and I would teach people what I was learning from successful people. So my first paid gigs, if you will, my first real paid ones were substitute teaching, and the teachers at the time, when they still did this, they would roll a TV in, the substitute would put in a tape for an hour when they still had tapes back then, and you sat at your desk quietly and got your paycheck. I got teachers to say, you can run a 60-minute session. So I would come in and teach things like goal setting and other things I learned from people. And then in 2012, I did not want to be on camera. No. And we got somebody, a keynote speaker at an awesome conference. I'm like, dude, we got a chance to interview him. I looked him up. He's a talking head. The interviewer's never in the shot with him. I can do that. Set up a camera in a quiet room. 5 minutes before we went live, with no plan of what to say, because I thought it would be chopped up and edited, he says, "Oh, you're in this with me, aren't you?" And pulled me into the frame. I'm like, guess I'm in this with you. And now with my interviewing, I love, one of my favorite things is when someone pauses. It's like, that's a good question. My first response to my first question ever on video was, "That's not a good question. Let's start over." It was like dying inside, like this whole poker face for the camera. Got over it, started doing video interviews. I created a format called 8 Unedited Minutes, which is exactly what it sounds like. Then got into podcasts, audio at first, then video and everything else. And to this day, I still have my podcast. I'm starting another one. And I just love learning from people. And I hope that never changes, even when I'm 80 something years old.
Wow. So what I would say is, like, is it NLP, which is about studying successful people and trying to take bits of their actions and then trying to like adopt it yourself? I think NLP coaching. I'm probably, anyone in the comments, let me know if I've got that wrong, but I think it's NLP coaching, which is all based around studying successful people and finding the secret sauce as such. Was that something that you were looking for, like the secret sauce of what made people successful so that you could implement it? Or were you
Yeah.
trying to think about implementing for other people?
If you didn't read that on my website, then this is an amazing coincidence. When I was younger, I figured I needed certification. So I studied what Tony Robbins did, and I got certified as a practitioner and then master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming. Got
Right.
certified
Okay.
as a hypnotherapist, and you nailed it. That's exactly what NLP was. It probably still is. I haven't studied it for a while, but at the time, that's what it was. And that was one of the things Tony Robbins credited, is he could dissect the success model that people use to become successful using neurolinguistic programming. And I definitely took full advantage of that.
Yeah. So you've done, at that time, you did what, 200 plus interviews, did you?
Not at that time. I've done God knows how, if you don't include a 200 plus that are published online. If you
Right.
want to go back 25 years, I don't even know what the number would be. It's a staggering amount if you include all the informational ones, where it was even back when it was just me, a notebook, a pen, and a successful person.
And was it to implement for yourself? Was it a selfish thing, or what, did you want to teach it to
Teach
other
it.
people?
Definitely teach it.
What was the
And learn it
one
for
thing?
myself too.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what was the one thing, the one person, the one thing that was a mindset or a strategic shift for you personally?
A big one was when I moved to Chicago, and I moved to Chicago and I did all cold calling in Michigan. And I went to Eastern Michigan University, which is near Ann Arbor, Michigan, which everyone knows because of U of M. And that's where I spent my time, because it was a bigger city than Ypsilanti, where Eastern is. And I did not know how to network. I had cold called in Michigan. I came to Chicago, and literally never, I technically networked in the sense of my college friends got me my first jobs, but I didn't know I was networking. It was just calling a friend and asking for a favor. Moved to Chicago, tried cold calling. Oh my God, it went nowhere. And I realized I got to learn how to network. Let's go to the interviewing. So I found people on Crane Chicago Business Magazine at the time, New York Times best-selling authors in the business world that talked about networking. Anyone that was talking about networking, I hunted them down. And even if it was 20 minutes on the phone, I dissected at what they were doing. And the most successful ones were the ones building relationships, like we've already alluded to and your questions alluded to. And that was that probably seriously shaved years off my learning curve if I would have just tried to do an elevator pitch and go to an event and collect 10 business cards and leave and try and sell a bunch of stuff. I learned so much about relationships from those people early on. And that was circa 2002, 2003.
Amazing. Right, before we get into the interviews and how you serve your clients and how you've helped people with ideal climbing, I want to it's something that I found on the internet, which was how did the TED founder shape how you think about ideas?
Not just thinking big, but thinking differently. If I remember correctly, he was my first interview. He was the guy I mentioned. That was my first interview was him. And I
Right.
think he called it the land of zero, where you come up with something completely original. So that made me want to think outside the box. And then he taught me something big as far as there's addition and subtraction. Add something to, the development of the car to add different things to it. Subtraction is take something away, make it more streamlined, more niche, more industry specific. But the big one was to not to have the same ideas that everyone else has, but come up with your own ideas, or at least take something and then modify it and change the idea around by adding to it or subtracting from it.
Now, do you think that was contrarian? Do you think it was like so? I always like when it comes to investing my money, I always do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Like that sort of contrarian attitude, I find quite useful. Would you say that his thought process and your thought process is contrarian, or do you think it is more finding something individual and something different from other people?
Contrarian, without a doubt. Most of the things I learned from people that I adopted were contrarian, and that's why I adopted them.
Give me one thing that you learned which is contrarian, which actually has had maybe the biggest impact on you or maybe someone that you've shared this with.
With networking, I'll use networking. It's definitely find out how you can help the other person first. I mean, some people nailed it. It was Zig Ziglar. I'm not going to get this correct exactly, but you can have anything you want in life by helping other people get what they want in life. And that was contrarian to most the traditional. When I got into the networking world in the early 2000s, you have to have the perfect pitch, and if you meet 20 people you can get 10 cards, and if you get 10 cards you make 10 calls, 5 people pick up, 2 people have a meeting with you, 1 closes a sale. So many people were teaching that, and it just felt icky to me, and I didn't like it. I don't like feeling like I'm taking advantage of people. So it was really make it all about the other person. But these people were phenomenally successful at what they did. So it wasn't just like the most popular person in the room who's broke. These were successful people saying, look, put other people first. And they would taught me things like find out how you can help them, but knowing who you like your referral partners. Right now, web designers and digital marketing agencies are my referral partners. So I meet someone that has a web design firm or a digital marketing agency, and they happen to work with coaches, consultants, and speakers in the B2B space. I already know we could help each other. This is the key. With the videos we'll talk about, I do videos. If they need a new video, they probably are going to want marketing and a website. If they want marketing and a website, they probably need a video or videos. So that's what I learned is that's a two-way street. It's not, oh, I'm going to go pitch every coach, consultant, and speaker I meet. I like to look for and build relationships with referral partners so we can help grow each other's business in a mutually beneficial way.
Yeah, it's a whole win-win scenario. Like we're taught as kids when it's like sport and things like that, that it's a win-lose. And that was one of the struggles that I had moving into business and entrepreneurship is there is actually win-win, that like that's the scenario that we should be working towards and trying to do, rather than I win you lose or you lose I win. So it's I think it's a great model for and referral partners are something that's been incredibly important for me, and I think it's a great way of being able to have that win-win scenario, win-win solution for people, because it makes everyone that's in the engagement happy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Perfect. Right. Before we go on to how you serve your clients, I saw this and I'm fascinated about your improv
Yes.
experience and training that you had.
Oh God.
How has that helped you change you? When did you start that? You did a course, did you?
I took an entire year. We're talking intensive,
Wow.
3 to 4 hours a week. I wouldn't have the time now. But the quick story, I do nothing about improv outside of what most people know about improv, which is Saturday Night Live and being funny. And my best friend at the time in 2007 was helping to run the Chicago Improv Festival's 10th anniversary. And at the time, it was the world's largest improv festival. And she asked me to volunteer. I'm like, and it was 5 days. It's like, that's a lot of time. And then she said, well, you'll be in charge of the green room where all the celebrities hang out and the VIP after parties, and you'll walk people to and from the VIP after parties in the green room. I'm like, for you, I will do it. So I got to actually, if they're in the movies or TV now, they were there back then. I actually got to hang out with them, and I just told them, I'm not going to bug you. It was pre-selfie days. I'm not a big autograph hound. I don't care about getting pictures with celebrities, but I figured this is a chance for me to learn. And I asked everyone who would talk to me, which was most of them, all I want to know is this: what don't people know about improv, and how has improv changed your life? They talked my ear off the entire week, and I learned the first thing is that improv is not about being funny. It's about being in the moment. It's about being honest. It's about things like making your scene partner look good. And I had tried to be a keynote speaker. I had taken this keynote speaking courses. I had tried it. I would die on stage. It was not for me. I remember the last time, and it wasn't much, but I got paid for a gig and I just felt the sweat, and it wasn't from the lights. It was just, I have ADHD. It is awesome for creativity. It is not awesome for delivering a 45-minute talk with no interaction with the audience. And in 2009, I finally said, I'm throwing in the towel with this keynote stuff. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. I want to be a facilitator, and I started doing more interviews and then realized improv. Oh my God. The oldest, not the, probably the oldest, but the most popular thing is yes and it's all about an interaction and feeding off what the other person says. And I said, screw this keynote speaking training. And that's when I said, I'm going to take a year of improv. And they taught me at the festival that their Second City, which is, if you want to go to Second City on a Friday night, you see the up and coming Saturday Night Live people. It's a bunch, it's skits. It's a live version of Saturday Night Live. Then they said,
Yeah.
there's also this place where almost all the famous people went through both of them because they're different trains of thought. On a Friday night, it's something called Improv Olympic. That's where you would see, give me a steak, give me a fruit. And they make stuff up on the spot. I'm like, that's what I want, to get quick on my feet. And that's why I took a year of training there. And I'm actually going back for 25 hours of training this year.
Amazing. Have you got any name drops before I explore improv a little bit more? Any name drops that you met?
Name basically all of them, but the two people who are nicest to me, there's a guy, he was on Mad TV at the time. This guy, Ike Barinholtz, walked me around. He must have saw I was horribly nervous, and he just put his arm around me. He would walk me into the green, like, this is my new friend, Mark. And he'd introduce me and made sure I was comfortable, made my life so much easier. And then from late night, Seth Meyers was one of the people taught me so much about improv, would just talk my ear off until the wee hours. And it was people like that I said, okay, not only is this improv interesting, but they're good people, because they actually would have conversations. It wasn't like, oh, snap a picture, because some people, oh, look who I met. It's like, no, I actually hung out with these people, some of them for hours. And that's why I learned so much about improv. And like I said, it's not about being funny, it's about being honest. And it was one of the most welcoming communities for some kid who didn't know what the hell improv was.
Right. Being in the moment.
Yeah.
Why do people struggle with that? Are there any techniques that you've learned doing improv which gets people in the moment and being able to react naturally and in the best human way?
With them reacting to me or me reacting to them?
Well, you reacting to them.
Whatever they say, I just build on it. And that's it. If all my podcasts, all my on-stage interviews, everything I do, I ask a question, they answer. I ask a question based on the last answer. Then based on the last, that's why all my interviews are improvised. I never have canned questions. And that's what I learned, is how to yes and my way through, whether it's a 15-minute on-stage conversation, 60-minute podcast, the yes and approach, and the theme of make your scene partner look good really stood out to me with improv in the business world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, what's what's the real problems that your clients come to you with? What are the challenges that they face?
For the videos, it's that they're either not comfortable on video or they don't know what to say in 90 seconds to 2 minutes, much less 30 seconds. Comfortable on video, half of what I do is unconscious competence. I've been doing it so long, I get people comfortable on camera. They can be themselves, their personality shines through. On stage, what I love, and for the videos also, I love that I pull stories out. I love when someone will tell me I never would have put that in a script on my own. If you hadn't asked that question, it wouldn't be in the video. So I love that. On stage, I love pulling genius and stories out of people in front of an audience. And because of the improv background, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. I involve the audience. So the hook is, instead of a presentation at the audience for a certain amount of time, it's a conversation with the audience for a certain amount of time.
So you bring people in on Q&A sort of comments and thoughts and things
It's
like
like a
that.
live podcast, but I involve the audience.
Amazing? Right, I want to talk about ideal climbing.
Yes.
What is different about it from other groups?
One, the book is written based on interviews and research. Many books are written from which is fine and it's really great. I was younger when I wrote it, so well, young-ish, 2022, and most people write a book from their point of view, which means you're getting the author's advice, but it's one person's experience. I found the 8 pillars of idea climbing, which is how to bring your big idea to life. And it was found by dissecting my handwritten notes at the time, and also my research and read. I would read entire biographies or autobiographies. I taught myself how to speed read just to get 1 2-page story for the book. So it's based on research and interviews with people. So you get a multitude of perspectives and finding out, like, almost everyone. One of the pillars is mentoring. Almost every successful person I researched or interviewed got successful and on some part because of their mentor. So I found common threads of successful people and put them in a book.
Who's been your mentor?
I have had so many over the years. Oh my God. In 2002, my biggest mentor that taught me a lot about networking and ended up working with is a guy, Tim Sanders. He's still a speaker. Back when Yahoo was a Google of the day, he was a chief solutions officer of Yahoo. He came over with Mark Cuban when Yahoo acquired their company. And he wrote a book called Love is the Killer App. And before apps were really a big thing, but it was all about building relationships and showing love, business love. And he really dramatically, in the most awesome ways, directly impacted how I looked at relationships and business networking.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right, I want to just delve into the content. So why is just creating more content bad advice, especially when it comes to B2B businesses?
It's creating content for the sake of creating content. I think people should pick something they're passionate about. And it's with content, I would say, if you include like LinkedIn posts, my podcast, probably 80% of what I put out there is either a direct interview with someone or an amalgamation of research and interviews that I then compacted into one. I did one on sales today. It's based on 3 or 4 interviews I did learning about sales for the second book. And it becomes a LinkedIn post. So I'm really big on sharing other people's genius. And it also helps me stay fresh with content because I don't have to think of what to write from only my perspective and in a piece of content, whether it's a 1,000-word blog post, 500-word blog post, show notes to go along with a podcast. I'm really big on interview content and learning from other people and helping them share their genius.
Why do you think the whole interview style has worked for you? Like, you've given sort of snippets of it that you can learn from other people. Like, you've got a bank full of experience, expertise, knowledge in things in business and networking and mentoring. Why do you still love this style of interview rather than you talking to the camera, sharing all of that wealth of experience that you've got?
I don't an interview like this is different as far as me by myself. One, I don't like talking just from my point of view on stage. I don't like keynoting, which is what I gave up in 2009. And the biggest part of it is I'm like I said, I mean, rabidly curious. This genuine, ridiculous curiosity, which I have found not a lot of people have that genuine, deep curiosity about other people. So I'm fascinated. Every time I do an interview, I'm learning from a podcast. I do it on stage. I'm learning from the person sitting there on a bar stool or a couch with me, and I'm learning from the audience's feedback and the audience's question. So I get to learn while I work. If I just talk about what I know, I'm not learning anything. I'm just sharing what I know. I wanted to learn while I'm working.
Where did this curiosity come from?
I wish I had a good answer. I've been asked that a lot. And it's just like I said in 99, because of that notebook from February of 1999, I know the date. I just went nuts with interviewing people. I would go to people that were speaking at my college. There's people that were speaking at U of M, public seminars, and I would always, when I could, I would find some way to get backstage, get the contact information of the keynote speaker, the facilitator, and interview them about how they became successful, how did they build their business. As far as the origin of it, I honestly, I can't complain. It's one of those things I don't know. It's kind of like your kitchen faucet. If you turn the water on, you don't need to know why and how the plumbing works and how it was built. I don't know how my plumbing works or how it was built. I just know that someone turned on a faucet that nobody has ever turned off. And like I said, as long as I can freaking talk, I'm going to be interviewing people.
What was your upbringing like?
Very, I'll say disruptive. It was not great. I love my mom and my grandparents. Dad's side, not so good. So I don't usually get into it. But as far as the curiosity and that stuff goes, I don't know where that came from. In college, I was definitely a geek growing up. I was a loner from probably sixth grade through 10th grade, then found a group of friends who weren't one person in my school, and then a group of friends who weren't in my school. And when I went to college, I hate to use the word, but I'm going to use it. I blossomed because I didn't know it at the time, but this geeky, dorky persona that plagued me in Michigan growing up in the suburbs of Detroit, nobody knew it. And without realizing what I was doing, I completely reinvented myself in college. I was the party animal. I have old, which I don't know if I ever want digitized. I had 8mm cameras at the time, cassette videotapes. We had Mark's apartment nights. We had wild trips. I documented everything on these 8mm. God forbid I ever get famous. I don't want it to get out. But I became this entirely different person because of college. So I mean, I struck it on my own right after college. So, but college, the experience of it, oh my God, it changed my life.
Did you move a long distance to college?
No, just an hour away. I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit,
Okay.
and it was just a straight shot up I-94 from the suburbs of Detroit to like I said, Ann Arbor, Michigan's the one that people recognize. Ypsilanti, Michigan was 10 minutes up the street from Ann Arbor, and that's where I went to school, college.
But the hour was like it could have been 14 hours. You reinvented yourself, you transformed yourself just with an
Mhm.
hour, which is really fascinating. It's not like you went from East Coast to West Coast and you started again completely. Um, what did you learn from the action or the mindset shift that you went from being a geeky, nerdy kid at school into university, into college?
I just got to be myself. I have a wicked sense of humor. Grew up with both of my brothers. We have wicked sense of humor. They know if you want to post something on Facebook, do not tag me with our sense of humor. That's not the place or time for it publicly. And same thing as where I got my curiosity. I don't know. It's not like I went to college and said, I'm going to reinvent myself. It just happened. I started making friends and I realized people were treating me differently because they didn't know me. They wanted to get to know me. And I developed an entirely new personality that was outgoing, fun loving. I had a ton of friends. It was great. And it just happened in college. I just realized like, wow, I'm not this. They don't know that I was a geek. They don't know anything, and I got to reinvent myself completely.
What were you geeky about?
I was a very, very, very introverted kid. from like I was a little extroverted in grade school, and then middle school I got picked on a lot. So like I said, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, half of 10th grade. I no joke had like one friend, maybe two friends in the whole school, give or take, and one of them was my next door neighbor. So that was kind of like a friendship by default. We were neighbors, so we were going to be friends one way or the other. Then I got a job a couple miles from home in a fast food restaurant, Hardee's. And what, again, not intentional, but that pre-college, that's where it started, was late 10th grade. I just so happened that I don't know how it happened because I could walk to this Hardee's restaurant from where I lived. Nobody in that restaurant went to school with me. Nobody knew me from Adam. So that was, thinking back, that's one of the origins, is I just got to be whoever I wanted. I came up, had my first girlfriend. I had a whole new set of friends. They were a ton of fun. Most of them were a little bit older than me. So that was when I started to break out of my shell. And when I went to college, thinking about it out loud, now that it was a continuation of what started in later 10th grade when I was 16 at working at a Hardee's restaurant 2 miles from home.
Thank you. Thank you for your openness and honesty. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's really, really fascinating. Back to business. Why are most masterminds a waste of time?
It's I don't want to get all jaded here. Let me think about this one. Why are most
Come on,
masterminds?
tell me something that I can put in a clip.
Most of them, they have one question that everyone answers, and it's just a bunch of people sitting around talking about themselves, which is fine. But it's just, or the bigger thing is there's no focus. It's, oh, we're just going to talk about business, and everyone's going in 10 different directions. The conversations are random. If unless it's not solicited, but not elicited, unless it's moderated the right way with a really good moderator, like I've gotten good at I've been doing mastermind moderating and facilitating since 2003. Unless you have someone controlling a conversation that gives everyone equal amount of time to talk, without a doubt, you're going to end up with one person dominating the room, one person barely talking at all, and a bunch of people falling somewhere in the middle. And the biggest thing is that not a lot of them have a lot of, and I'm not talking about the big, if anyone's watching or listening and they know the big groups, not like EO, Entrepreneur Organization, YPO, Young Presidents Organization, Vistage, they do it freaking right. Oh my God, I've interviewed so many people from those groups. But most general masterminds with people who haven't been trained, like they train their people to do their masterminds, to do them awesome. Without the proper training, it really can just digress into a bunch of people talking about random stuff for an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah. It's the structure, isn't it? It's making
Yep.
sure everyone's heard, everyone's listened to, but equally putting people in the right headspace to be sharing something of value rather than just talking.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about ideal climbing again. Let's loop back to here. I'd really love to hear a little bit more. So it's 8 different modules, 8 different
I
areas that
call
you
them
cover?
pillars.
Pillars, sorry. Yeah. So let's delve into a little bit more about these 8 pillars. So um why did you build 8, and just maybe a summary of some of the more important ones?
It just turned out to be 8. I found, after doing all my research and transcribing interviews and reading the biographies and autobiographies, 8 strong common threads fell out of my brain, as far as, oh, these are the most common things that almost everyone's talking about on some level. The 2 that are my favorite are, and it's about bringing idea climbing, how to build a support system, how to create a support system for your next big idea. So it's breathing life into your big idea. And on the marketing side, relationship marketing, sharing it with friends, sharing it with people, letting them feed your idea back to you. Oh, is this what you mean? Is this what you mean? And if it's an entrepreneur, sharing about your business, getting better at it, and using relationships to grow your business, not old slimy networking or sales tactics. And then my favorite pillar, because of my life with mentors, is mentoring. Like I mentioned, almost everybody had a mentor. I can, and I mean this intentionally, using this word correctly. Literally, one person comes to mind, and she told me, I've never had a mentor. I did everything on my own. Literally one person. Everyone else had, most of the time, multiple mentors. And using what we said about dissecting what successful people did, that's what I did in the book. I dissected and made it a step by step, duplicable process, not a pie in the sky. Oh, mentoring's so important. Well, how do I do it? I don't know, but it's important. It's kind of like business schools. They'll tell you till they're blue in the face about how important networking is. I literally know of one school, and that's a friend and mentor of mine in New York, that actually teaches networking as part of a class. They teach to tell you how important it is. They don't tell you how to do it. They tell you mentoring is important. They don't tell you how to do it. Idea climbing tells you step by step how to build each pillar of the 8 pillars successfully.
And why is relation like it's obvious, but I want you to tell me why it's obvious. But why is relationship building so pivotal and so important for business owners?
A big one, which the groups I mentioned, EO, Vistage, YPO, and them, it's that's a support group for them. It's people that are in their shoes dealing with the stuff they're dealing with. And once you hit that level of entrepreneurship, there's not a lot of people to talk to. Just like if you're just getting started, like I did it, and I tried to do it alone until I was taught better. The biggest thing is a support system above and beyond getting referrals, above and beyond making money. When you're bringing a big idea to life, you need people to support you. Yes, give you some feedback about how you can improve, but also validate when you have good ideas, when you're on the right track. And just someone on those days, I have people that I can call. It's just like, I'm having one of those days, talk me down, or I'm having one of those days. Let's just, tell me about your life. I need an escape from mine. So the biggest thing about relationships, I believe, is a support system that will actually end up helping you build your business, make money in the long run.
That's great. I think that's what we're all looking for is belonging. Might be a weird way of describing it, but it is.
No,
You
it's
want
belonging.
and especially the higher you go up, like if you're like a CEO of a company, something that's going around in my brain at the moment is this whole idea of CEO. CEOs can be an incredibly lonely place because you can't discuss certain things with other people on your board or other people in senior positions because that might impact how they perceive you, how they see you as the CEO. So the higher you go up in companies or running your own company with bigger number of people below you, it actually becomes a lot lonelier the higher you go up.
It's the higher you go up, but it's also when you're a budding entrepreneur and you have this crazy idea, that can be a lonely time too. Unless I've met people that are blessed. They're like second and third generation entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial family. Everyone runs a business in some way, shape, or form. Unless you grew up in that environment with that kind of family, with that kind of family friends, when you're bringing a big idea to life and it seems like a little bit crazy, I want to be on my own. It's like, why don't you just take your college degree, go get a safe job, build yourself up to climb the corporate ladder, get a 6-figure income, get a corner office. Why the hell would you want to start your own business where there's no guarantee of everything? Those early days can be extremely lonely days too. So it's not just the
Yeah,
top. I think it's the other end of the spectrum that gets lonely too.
that's really fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. That's
Yep.
great. Um, So I'm positioning this as you as a leader because you're working with lots of people and you're helping people. How do you think you've evolved as a leader?
I've got better. I've got better at listening. I would say that in leadership, since I'm not a CEO or a C-suite executive, would it be organizations I've run, volunteer, being on the board of directors is the biggest thing I took away from being on board of directors. And I'm on one right now too for the National Speakers Association is find out what other people need to get their jobs done and help them get it. And that's the way to build your team is by supporting your team's dreams, your team's endeavor, and not make it all about barking orders at them, but rather finding ways to support them and help them achieve what they're on your team to do. So don't make it about yourself, make it about your team.
Yeah, and you've got people like Simon Sinek who says leaders eat last. You've got people like Gary Vee that are sort of saying, as a leader, you're there to serve. You're not there to, as you say, bark orders. These messages are coming through. They are coming through on social media, on platforms, in books, on podcasts, but it's almost these aren't coming quickly enough. This is not something that's being mass adopted, but there are messages out there for leaders in that way to understand that they are there to serve as well.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And do you think the messages aren't being listened to? Do you think that's what the problem is? People are not valuing Simon Sinek and Gary Vee saying these sorts of things?
Um, it's said that I don't know the exact statistics, so I'll be within reason. It's something like most people, as far as business books, most people read like one or two books it's something crazy, insanely low. So I think it's that people aren't even getting the good information, and so many people, they'll buy the book but they won't read the book. So I think a lot of the people that read the books I think are the ones who do an awesome job at leading, building companies, building teams, building associations. But I just think not enough people actually read, and then keyword here, implement what they read. If they even read a book,
100%.
they just read it and okay, I read it, and they put it down.
Yeah, 100%. And the other question I like asking is, what's your risk appetite and has it changed over the years?
I would say it's more calculated risk now. When I was younger, I mean, to get with risk, I mean, started going back to waiting tables after leaving a good job to wait tables again to pay rent while I was speaking for free when I still thought I wanted to be a speaker and a coach. I would do crazy things, neurolinguistic programming training. I could barely afford it. The woman running it took pity on me, gave me a discount. I had somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 left in my bank account, which most of went to pay my cell phone bill so I would have a phone. I drove to Chicago from Michigan, planning on sleeping in a parking lot, not knowing that there aren't parking lots in downtown Chicago. So in July of around 2000, 2001, I drove to Chicago, a cooler in my trunk, parked in a parking garage in July in Chicago, slept in my car at night, sweated, found a downstairs unused bathroom at the hotel that was hosting the neurolinguistic programming training, washed myself off, wiped the red out of my eye, went up to the room and learned. And I finally broke down, asked for a little bit of money, and got a room in a not a room, but four people to a room in a hostel for a few nights just to get out of my car. But I look at things like that I did. I slept in my car to finish college. I was crazy back then, and I was very much just like throw it against the wall and see what sticks. I've learned enough now that it's definitely more calculated.
What were some of the mistakes that you made? What were some of the things that you sort of, because taking risks has inherently upside, but it also has downside. Can you talk to one of the areas that it didn't work for you?
Striking out on my own and immediately trying to be a speaker and coach. In hindsight, I would have, even if I was waiting tables to pay the rent and pay my bills, if I wanted to be, since I wanted to be a speaker, my advice to my younger self would have been, even if you have to volunteer as a free intern, go work at a speakers bureau 10 hours a week. Spend time around speakers, learn from them, work for a speakers bureau, learn how they book speakers, spend time around speakers, practice a lot. I would have gotten out a lot more to try and practice it, which I would have learned. I don't like keynote speaking a lot earlier if I had done more of it. But the biggest thing I would have done is if someone wants to do something with their own business and they're young, like college age or recent graduates of college, even like I said, wait tables, make your money. Waiting tables is for most people's lifestyle at that young age is good money. It's easy money, cash in hand. You can pick up shifts, give up shifts. Go work somewhere you think doing something you think you want to do with your own business and learn firsthand whether you like it or not. Don't just jump right into something assuming you know best.
Yeah. What's the plan for the next 2 to 5 years?
Building up the sizzle reel, the video business, definitely getting back into live events and hosting mastermind experiences. The live events, I'm really looking forward to my 2 hour, 4 hour events. That's what I'm really most excited about right now is getting back into, okay, having an audience there, me and somebody on stage and building a name for myself in there, eventually getting my own radio show, not one where you pay to play, but you get paid to play. That's definitely on the roadmap in the next 2 to 5 years. So, and I'm building up the podcast, building up other things like that. So every time I do an interview, I like to get 1% better, hone my craft a little bit more. And 1% doesn't seem like a lot, but I have 154 published podcast episodes. That's 154% better than when I started, plus radio shows, 8 unedited minutes, and definitely my own radio shows in the works.
Amazing. So we haven't touched on the sizzle reels. Like, can you explain that for me?
most people know they need for their websites and LinkedIn profile a 30-second, 90-second, 2 minute, 2.5, I would say short form video. But a lot of people are not comfortable on camera, or they don't know what to say in a short form. They have too much in their head and they don't know what to put into a video. I use my superpower, which is interviewing people. And because with my interviews, especially when I was younger and even sometimes today, I don't have all day to talk about small talk. I got to get to the meat of the conversation, get something to learn, get a story, and move on. I do that for other people. They look into a camera, I get them comfortable. We have some fun. They can kind of forget the camera's there. I pull out their stories, their purpose, their passion. It gets captured on film. My editor works as magic. Less than an hour, they get a suite of videos they can use for branding and marketing. No scripts, no teleprompters, just pure personality.
Amazing. Sounds great. Sounds amazing. Look, we could go on forever, but look, coming to the end of the interview, I ask the same 6 questions to all of my guests. So quick fire questions. They don't need a quick fire answer. The first question is, what's the best decision that you made?
To not advice I got from family when I said I want to start my own business was spend 5 or 10 years in corporate America, get a nest egg, save money. And I even knew it at the time. And other people have told me this since then. And now in hindsight, I was right. I just said, if I go into somewhere for 5 or 10 years and get to a 6-figure income, I'm going to get so comfortable. There's no way I'm going to want to leave. So that was one of the pieces of advice that I did not take. And just went on my own. And that like I said, there's things I would have done differently. I would have been working at speakers bureau, booking agencies, other things for coaching. I would have done that for free and to learn the craft and what I liked and didn't like. But that's one of the earliest things that I just said, no, if I get comfortable, I'm never going to make a leap.
Yeah. What was the best piece of advice you've been given?
When I was a young teenager, but old enough to be talking about college, but still pretty young. So I'm going to guess 13, 14. My uncle by marriage on my mom's side of the family was a ridiculously successful entrepreneur. And when we were talking about different things, and maybe of course it comes up the doctor, the lawyer, and all that good stuff. When in his 80s, the dude had freaking smile lines. When most people have frown lines and crow's feet and all this stuff, smile lines, his eyes lit up. He talked to CEOs the same way he talked to the freaking waiter or busboy in a restaurant. And it was Uncle Charlie. And he just looked at me and said, if you do what you love, the money will come. Simple advice that I don't think I fully embraced until the last few years of my life.
Amazing. I would like to have met Uncle Charlie. He sounds like an absolute gem.
He was awesome.
Who's the person that's helped you most in your career? I know that's going to be tough, but have you got anyone that springs to mind that helped you the most?
My girlfriend for the emotional support, without a doubt, above and beyond business. I would not have been able to do it without her.
Amazing. Right, this is a tough one. Tell me about a regret that you have.
The biggest regret is it's definitely what I already mentioned. It's definitely the fact that I didn't say, oh, I'm going to go work at again, even if I volunteer for free, not to the point where it's a career path, but I'm going to spend a year at a speakers bureau, a year over here, a year there. That's the biggest regret, is that I immediately tried to because Tony Robbins got rich in his 20s and I said I could do it too. So I immediately went straight for trying to pitch myself. I did not know what I was doing. I would not have been a good keynote speaker when I was younger. I was not a good coach, even though I had the certifications. So that's the biggest regret, is that I didn't go out and spend some time in the coaching field, in the speaking world, and learning more about it, learning more about what I love, what I hate, what I want to do, what I don't want to do. Because that was 99. I didn't realize until, it's sad to say, but really when I took improv in 2009 is when I threw up the white flag with keynote speaking. I was trying to make it work. Thank God I was running events starting in 2003, and I was in the event space to make money and do all that good stuff while still trying to be a speaker and coach, but it just didn't work out. And I wish I would have just embraced events. And then one thing, I don't know if you can learn without experience, but definitely learn early on. I don't like keynote. It's not that I think anyone could do it if they practice hard enough. I didn't like it. I just chalked it up to, I'm young, I have to do it more. It was like, when I threw up the white flag, I just said, I don't like this. What the hell am I doing? And that's when improv took
Brilliant.
over in 2009.
That's brilliant. I love that. I love that you've been able to come through that. So coaching, I've tried coaching people, and I worked out that I don't really like I like talking to people. I like sharing my experiences. I like being a podcast guest. I do the odd speaking gig as well. I like sharing what I can of my experiences. But actually, I don't like being a coach. And I think it's great that it might have taken you maybe longer than like reflecting on how long it took you, but I think it's really great experience for people to know what they like, but equally what they don't like, and try not to have that part of your life. That's where the smiling Uncle Charlie comes in, because he was doing the stuff that he loved, and he had other people probably to do the stuff that he didn't like doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, Was there a time when you wanted to give up, and what made you pull through?
I will say there were rough times where I came close, never officially saying I give up and giving up completely. And again, that goes back to my girlfriend. It was someone's no, we can get through this together. We can do this. You can't give up. And even when I had to take odd jobs and other things like that, I mean, I'm doing what I'm doing, and without her, I don't think I could have made it mentally. I really don't think it would have emotionally, mentally, the stress. I wouldn't have been able to make it through without her.
So she pulled you through. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. We all need, like, my wife is my stabilizer. She's the one who keeps my feet on the ground and keeps me very, very stable in our relationship. It's great to have a great partner that complements you, because I don't know what your girlfriend's like, but with my wife, she has different skills than I have, and we complement each other. And that's why, and I think with business partners, you need to have complementary skills to be able to be successful. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, I think that's great that you've had that experience with your girlfriend. Right, tell me something that most people don't know about you.
I'm an introvert at heart. I mean, that's one thing I don't, it's not like I'm not going to go so far to say I dislike extroverted activities. Obviously, I do with networking and getting on stage in front of however many people and doing interviews and podcasting. But general rule, if it's a quiet night in with the girlfriend or a night out at a cocktail party, if I have my choice, it's going to be the night in. But I'm definitely more introverted than I am extroverted.
Amazing. Right. What does legacy mean to you?
Leaving leaving a trail so people can live better lives than you lived, and leaving something behind that people can learn from.
Simple, clear. I love it. Before we close off, what does the J stand for in Mark J. Carter?
Joseph, my grandpa on my mom's side.
Okay. Okay. Amazing. Look, thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much for this conversation. Look, guys, if you've enjoyed this conversation, and you took something valuable away from it, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. You won't miss any future episodes of Business Growth Talks. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments below on what your biggest takeaway from this conversation was today. Thanks for listening to Business Growth Talks, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.